Hello, everyone. First off, I'd like to welcome you to the second episode of the ARTDACITY series. This is episode 2, BeWords, celebrating the legacy of guru and jazz appreciation. Today, we're going to have a bunch of excellent guests, but specifically right now, we're here with none other than Tricia Elam Walker, the sister of the legendary Keith Elam, who we know is Gifted and Limited Rhymes Universal. And also with us, we have Justin Ruff. If you're unfamiliar, Tricia Elam Walker is an award-winning author, attorney, and educator. Her first novel, Breathing Room, was published by Simon & Schuster, Pocket Books in 2001. Her works have appeared in The Washington Post, Baltimore Sun, Essence, and several other publications. If we're talking about Justin Ruff, he was born and raised in D.C. He's an actor. He first emerged during his freshman year studying at Hofstra. He's gone on to work in several other films. His first play, he landed the lead role in a production called Zooming. He's worked with several acting coaches, including the legendary Vera Katz, who's taught many professional actors, including Felicia Ayers Allen, who we now know as Felicia Rashad, the legendary Jeffrey Wright, Anthony Anderson, and also the late, great Chadwick Boseman, whom we lost recently. So I would like to welcome you both here, and thank you for sharing your time with us. So before we get to everything, I'd like to handle some business. The first thing is we're going to have to make a land acknowledgement. First off, we're virtual today, so I'd like to acknowledge that on the land in which Boston Art and Music and Soul Fest sits, it is the traditional territory of the Massachusetts people, and would like to pay my respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. And also, I'd like to share our inclusivity and anti-harassment statement with you. The Boston Art, Music, Soul Fest, it creates inclusive events and programs that welcome everyone. Our staff, board volunteers, and affiliates have the right to a safe and respectable experience. Discrimination or harassment will not be tolerated in any form, either in person or virtually. So now that we got the business out of the way, we can finally have our conversation with Tricia Elam Walker and Justin Ruff. Thank you for being here, first off.
Thank you.
All right, so Tricia, I have a question for you. Growing up in a legendary family like the Elams, who was situated in Boston, did so many historic things, what was the family life like?
The family life was chaotic sometimes, very creative, very loving, very immersed in who we were in terms of Black people, our ancestors being proud of where we came from. Even though, I grew up back in the 50s and 60s, it was still very important to my parents for us to know that we could do and be anything that we wanted, that there was nothing holding us back. And they made sure we were surrounded by Black art, Black music, Black books, as much as they could find. All the professionals that we went to see, from the dentist to the pediatrician, were African American people who also lived in our neighborhood. So we saw Black excellence all the time.
And where was that neighborhood?
Roxbury.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So, question. We know that the Elams are a legendary family. We know that they have done so many firsts, and we hold them in high regard. But one question I have, being that Guru, as we knew him, grew up in a family full of academics, how was his pursuit and foray into the music world treated by the rest of the family?
Well, it depends on who we're talking about. I mean, he was much younger than me, so when he got into that, I was already kind of out of the house. But I was very excited. It was a new kind of music. I was very sort of into whatever was going on culturally, whatever was new, whatever was popping, and he was too. So he and I were very connected that way. We're always connected in terms of what was the latest fashion, what kind of music was out, that kind of thing. We always talked back and forth about that, even when I was away at college. But so when he got into that, we weren't in the same location, but we talked back and forth about it. And I was just like, oh, what is that? I want to know more. I want to hear it. He would play beats for me, etc. And so I was excited. I think that my other brother was kind of curious about it. My dad was not having it. He was just like, that's not why you went to school. That's not what you're supposed to do. What is that? I don't see where that's going to get you anywhere. But so everybody kind of came around.
He went to Morehouse?
He went to Morehouse, yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So he pursued a degree in business management?
Yes, yes. He was very interested in fashion, so he had a little stint at FIT in New York as well, just briefly. But yeah, he graduated from Morehouse.
All right. So after he left Morehouse, I heard he came back home and he was like working with the Boston public school system, or he was in a teaching capacity or something. Am I right?
He did that for a while. He was in New York for a while doing some social work. He did a lot of work with young people. That was really important to him. And I think that, that translated into the music he ultimately came to do.
All right. So earlier you were talking about how a young Keith, he was immersed in Black culture, Black history, and Black excellence. That includes jazz. Do you have any idea how he was first introduced to jazz and who nurtured his love of it?
Mostly his godfather, George Johnson, who was one of my father's best friends. And he was a jazz aficionado and really introduced Keith to that. That's my recollection. There may be somebody else, but that's what I remember hearing him say. And I know that they spent a lot of time together. And, he credits him for that.
All right. So, Justin, is there anything you would like to interject?
Growing up as Guru's nephew, I looked at him as like a wizard. He was all, he was all knowing. He was always dropping knowledge. And it was always a constant feed of information and worldly things. And as it translates, that's the substance he rapped about. So I was blessed enough to be able to see that behind the scenes with him, and he kept it real, whether he was rapping or just in life. He was gifted unlimited rhymes universal. You know what I'm saying? He was always inspiring. He was always uplifting, and he walked by what he talked by.
Okay. So what was your relationship like?
Growing up, we were close. I looked at him as like a father figure in a sense. Fortunately, my father wasn't around, so I was seeking some type of strong male in my life, and that he was the guy. just to see how people gravitated to him was amazing, because it was always truth with him. So like I said, I was blessed to be able to witness that firsthand.
Oh, dope. So Tricia, being that rap was a young person's pursuit for the most part, and your brother was advanced in age in terms of what the average MC's age was, how do you think that affected his the way he approached music?
I don't think he let that interfere with anything. I mean, I think he, once he grabbed onto it, once it became his passion, that was it. He was in pursuit of it. He was gonna, do his best at it. He wanted to be at the top of the game, and he was, as we know. So he just made it his. He also, I feel like he transformed it to what he wanted it to be. When he fused jazz with it, etc. His rhymes, he was always writing stuff down. I mean, words were really important in our family. My mom was a librarian who made us read, rather than watch TV. So sometimes we felt deprived, but all of us ended up using words to a great extent in our life's work. And he was that way as well. So, he and I bonded over that too, because I'm a writer. So we would just talk about words and the meanings and, write stuff back and forth and let each other read them. I don't think he thought about age at all. I don't think that was an issue. For him, it was mostly about, let me have the most authentic experiences. Let me live my life in the most authentic way I can, so that I can write about this and share this with the world.
Okay. So being that he had pursued music and he'd gone to school and everything else, and everybody else in the family was an academic, like you explained, your parents were, your father especially, wasn't too happy with it. Was there ever a time he was able to reconcile with his son over his...
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. The thing I really appreciate about my parents is they allowed themselves to learn from us as well. We did a lot of shocking things, and we did a lot of things out of the mainstream of what was expected, growing up in that family. But, they listened to us, they learned from us, they allowed us to be creative and be who we were. That's one of the main things I took away from them as a parent myself. That even if they didn't quite get it or they didn't quite like it, if they saw that that's who you actually were and what you are passionate about, they tried to figure it out for you. They tried to help you work that through. And so, I just remember my father being sort of not really understanding it, not happy about it, not mincing his words and letting Keith know he wasn't happy about it. And then my mom would kind of come and like, well, wait a minute, Harry, let's listen. Let's see what, what he's trying to say and what he has to offer. Let's listen to it. I remember that he and I think Shug, actually, and Shug could tell you about this better than me, came over and wanted to kind of, try out some of the music. And my father wasn't having it. My mother was like, no, let's listen. Let's hear what it is, And ultimately, my father used to give a lot of speeches at a lot of different places. And in one of the places he was giving a speech, he said, my son's a rapper now, so I'm going to do a rap. And he ended up doing kind of a corny rap, but in his speech. So it was an honoring of Keith, when he did that, So yeah, he came full circle.
Wow. It's great hearing that your father was able to acknowledge what he did and come to terms with it. So Justin, what is something that you learned from Guru that you applied to your everyday life?
He taught me a lot. But one thing that sticks to mind, I think I was just starting college. And he even says this line in a song. I can't remember which one. I think it was one of the Jazzmatazz albums. But he looked me in the eye and he said, Justin, never put the two before the one. And I mean, it's self-explanatory, but in the sense it means you always got to look out for yourself. At the end of the day, you always got to look out for yourself. You can love whoever, you can pursue whatever you're after, but check in with yourself. That's how I took it. Check in with yourself and never let something come before who you are, what you're about, what you stand for. So I wish I could remember the name of the song on the Jazzmatazz album that he actually says that verse in his rhyme. But yeah, he said that straight to me, and that's always stuck with me. Never put the two before the one.
That's beautiful. Tricia, if you could think about what your brother's legacy, both creatively and musically, is, what would you describe it as? How do you feel about it?
You know, that's a great question, Bart. I feel a lot of ways about it. The thing I appreciate so much about him is, first of all, his words. You know, I have listened to rap music for years. I love rap music. And one of the things that I really pay attention to is when the words have deep meaning. And I think he did that with his. He wasn't just saying, you know, lyrics that rhymed and just, you know, you could say them and sing them or whatever, but they didn't really have meaning. He always wanted there to be a meaning behind his words. So he had a hip hop. No, not a hip hop, a rhyming dictionary that he would carry around with him because he you know, because rhyming was important. But he didn't just settle for that. He also made sure that whatever words he was using had a deep meaning behind them. And so what I appreciate about his legacy is so many people from students to just people I meet randomly on the street and find out, you know, here's my brother, talk about his lyrics, how much meaning was behind them, how they changed his life. I mean, I had someone crying saying his lyrics kept him from committing suicide or dying by suicide is the term I know now. And, you know, that was like heavy. That meant so much to me to hear that. He's like, you know, I played his lyrics all the time to keep myself alive. I was like, wow. I've had a grown man get down on his knees in front of me when he found out I was his sister, and just say how much, once again, his lyrics meant to them. So that's very powerful to me. I mean, when I posted this week, you know, at the anniversary of his death, posted on Instagram, so many people just wrote so many kind, loving, beautiful things in tribute to his life and his legacy. So it's everything.
Wow. That's beautiful. It's heavy. As somebody who grew up in South End, Lower Roxbury, and remembers him from when he was began pursuing music, and he was on with Leco's Lemma, and he first played Fresh Ave and a whole bunch of other demos. And I remember that that first visit to the studio in that first interview, and you know, it sticks out in my mind. That was 1986, and here I am sitting 35 years later talking about his music and what it means to us. So I'd just like to thank you both for coming on and talking about him, his music, and his legacy. Is there anything that you would like to say in conclusion?
I want to thank you for remembering him, for having this program, honoring him, and to all the fans who feel that way. Keep it going. Someone just posted this beautiful painting of him that just touched me so much because it really captured his essence, not just what he looked like, but his essence, and the fact that he means that much to people that they would put in that kind of work, you know. Still now, 11 years later, means everything to me, to Justin, to his son. I know that. So I thank you all.
All right. Justin?
Keep playing his music. Keep his legacy strong. Keep talking about him. Keep talking about what he stood for and what he meant to you. Well, Guru was a teacher at the end of the day. So yep. Keep doing that.
I know.
And he was about love. He was about love.
Absolutely. I know people say it's mostly the voice, but the words, the lyrics, the delivery, everything played into it. So again, when people talk about Gang Starr, they talk about Gifted Unlimited Rhymes Universal, they talk about his voice and what he meant to the hip hop culture. It's about what he meant to music.
Yes.
Period. I'd like to thank you both for being here and helping to acknowledge and continue to shine light on his legacy from now till forever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much.
Appreciate it.
Furthermore, this composition is positioned for fame. You will remember and you will know the name Gang Starr, yeah, on the MIC, on a rapping spree, the way to be. And when I was born, I told the stork I want to go to Boston, not New York, because Beantown was the place for me. And then I moved and kicked it to New York City.
All right, everyone, we're going to continue on with the second part of this conversation. To do this conversation properly, we had to bring on three experts who have both been influenced greatly by Guru and knew him during his time in Boston, and befriended him, and he was instrumental in all their careers. First off, I'd like to talk about Bakari JB. He's a hip-hop artist, spoken word artist. He's a poet. He grew up in Lower Roxbury, Dorchester area of Boston. He's a son of a jazz musician. Music has always been ingrained in this man since he was young. He started to develop his craft early on as a student of Boston Latin School, where I was expurgated from. He was born in 1986, which is the same year I first heard Gang Starr Posse on Lecco's Lemma in MIT, which is insane to me. This man is he's a talented artist, MC in his own right. Bakari JB.
Blessed to be here. Blessed to be here. Thank you.
Also with us, we have the legendary Edo G. We might know him as Edo G of Edo G and the Bulldogs, who released the classic 1991 album, Life of a Kid in the Ghetto. Also, the classic Roxbury 02119. Formerly a member of FTI crew, Fresh to Impress, and 3 Death Notes. The man has a long list of classics and has represented Roxbury and Boston on the musical stage for between 35 and 30 years, depending on where your entry point is. So I'd like to thank the legendary Edo G himself for being here.
Salute. What up, Dark? Peace, Jay.
What up?
Sorry.
What up? And last but not least, we have founding member of Gang Starr and the Gang Starr Foundation himself, Big Shug, representative of Mattapan, one of the first dudes I ever heard combine singing and emceeing at a high level. We're talking about going back to the days of Crush. I remember seeing back in 1994, seeing the first Gang Starr cover story, and there was a piece about him in there. He's been a legend in Boston. He's been a legend worldwide. Made some classic singles, classic albums. Thank you for being here, sir.
No doubt, man. It is. We good, man. We good here. Fellas, what's happening? How y'all doing?
What's up, Shug?
I'm good, man. What's up? What's up, little head?
What's up, big head?
I got the big one, you know what I mean? I'll leave it at that.
All right. So let's get started. The early days of the Gang Starr posse, Gang Starr crew, the story goes that it began with Guru back when he was Keith E, you back when it was Sugar Bear Shug, and your brother Swab D. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But one thing we have to get straight is Gang Starr Posse didn't have nothing to do with Gang Starr.
Oh.
That Gang Starr. When we started out, it was me and Guru. That's it. In the beginning, I was called Sugar Bear, and because his name was Keith Edward Elam, and his parents and family called him affectionately Keithy, I said, man, we'll just call you Keithy E. So they started out like that. And we weren't Gang Starr yet. We was just 2 rappers. You know what I mean? Doing our thing. We was in Atlanta at the time. So when you hear Gang Starr Posse, you'll even mention that. Maybe we'll get into that a little later in this conversation, but that has nothing to do with like the Gang Starr, you know what I mean? Or even the legacy. That's something totally different, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And my brother was our DJ, our first DJ, when we needed a DJ, because at first we were doing stuff without a DJ. then when we needed a DJ, my brother had some equipment temporarily. So we were able to do a couple of house parties, a couple of local performances at a place called Lane's Lounge in Mattapan, a place called Roscoe's down Dudley, Faces in Cambridge. You know, we was doing some shows. And then we picked with my brother, we picked that up. But then my brother didn't own the equipment and someone came and retrieved it. So then we needed another DJ, and that's when we got with Mike D. And Mike D was Mike Wanted to Be Down. You know what I'm saying? So that's how he became our DJ. And then we moved forward at that time, you know?
All right. So after, you know, Mike Want to Be Down, Mike D joins the group. How did the group go on? Because I hear that at some point you ended up incarcerated, and so what happened with the crew from then?
At that time, you know, we were still doing shows. We were still doing shows everywhere, but we were doing shows for money, like talent shows. Mm-hmm. So we win the money, and because I was like that dude, like that, you know what I'm saying, I probably took the most money and gave them some money. It's just how it was, you know. And I was in the street for real, like moving around like that, and it was the beginning of the crack era, and man, so much madness. And you know, when you can do some things, man, easily, and they roll off the back of your neck, you don't take them probably as serious, man. You know, it's like a talented athlete. You know, I used to write my parts of my raps, and I write Guru's too. This before he became prolific. This is the beginning. So his verse and my verses, I was writing them. We'll go win this show, get the money, then I'm out. And them dudes, you know, they keep on doing stuff, whatever. But we didn't rehearse or nothing. There was a show. I was going to be there. We was going to do it. Then I'm going to go back where I was, whatever I was doing. That's what it became. You know what I mean? That's not how it actually started, but it's not what it became. And then that's when he seen that from outside. Because we talking heavy. It's an open book, man. We're talking about weapons and drugs and different things that he had to visualize through his band that started this group with him. And he seen like how I was living. And it was like, probably if you look at it now, it's probably messed up because I brought him all the way that far, and it was so believable about what we could achieve as rappers and hip hop artists. So one day, man, he just went to New York. He left a note in my mailbox, and he said that he was going to New York, and he was, you know, he don't seem like he can reach me right now. And I started this whole thing, so he said he's going to try to see what he can do, you know? And then that was the last time I seen him till we reconnected. And Mike went down there sometime after that, and they did a few things and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but real quick, when they snapped in half, when they weren't dealing with each other no more, Mike created the Gang Starr posse with Smitty and Shab. Yeah. And then Guru was with Premier. So that, you know, this story's long as hell. It's funny. Yeah. Put the together. So, yeah.
I remember I checked the label and everything else.
It's a cold world. Seems like we're lost in a storm. We gotta find a way to get warm. Cold world.
So, Mr. Edo G, I remember you from being one of the faces in the room back in the days. MIT, the Lecco's Lemma Show. You were 16 years old. You were the beatboxer for FTI crew. But what was your relationship like with Keith E, the man we know as the Guru?
Man, well, you know, I met him, I would say after, I guess Shug had got incarcerated or whatever, when he was rocking with Mike D. And Mike D lived in my neighborhood. He lived like, you know, about 3 or 4 blocks down the street from me. So we knew he was a DJ, you know, locally in the neighborhood. And then Guru started coming through. Met him, and Mike just used to have a bunch of MCs in his house playing beats, everybody spitting. So it was kind of a gathering spot at that time in the neighborhood. And that's why I met him, and we were, you know, we got real cool. And I can remember when they actually went and got the Gang Starr deal with Wild Pitch. Yeah. The first deal, they had Stu Fine up here, came to Boston. I was in the studio with them when they was finishing up the single. I met Stu. I was actually gonna be Guru's kind of little young prodigy at the time. He had introduced me and he had produced a demo for me that he was shopping to Stu. But nothing ever happened with that, And then from there, when they, kind of broke into the two separate Gang Stars, I had my record deal at that time. They still, him and Preem linked. And a lot of people don't know, they and I Gotta Have It video. Little quick snippet. They in there real quick. They was actually doing promo for the new Gang Starr up at Nubian Ocean. And we were shooting our video. I Gotta Have It at the same time. And they jumped in the video, man. So that was my brother, man. I mean, he was a great dude, man. Showed me a lot of love. In 96, around 96, he had started Ill Kid Records, 95, 96. And he wanted me to be one of the artists on the label. So he, I went down to New York. He actually flew me to New York, flew me to his crib. We did some recording for that Ill Kid album. Then we flew out to LA. We chilled out there for a few weeks, man. And that's one of the best memories I have of me and him, because it was just me and him for that whole time. You know what I'm saying? So we had a great time, man. And that's one of the memories that sticks in my head forever, with me and him.
Yeah. I believe that the day that he went to New York, you were there.
I was there too. Yeah, a lot of historic days with him. He actually bought my boy's radio, my man A-Train. Bought his box. Because the Jag he had, the tape player didn't work. So he bought the boombox for the ride to New York when he was going. And, we seen him off. He came by right before he bounced. He was like, radio. He was like, I'm out. And that was it, man. And then from there, he was, him and Preem linked, and, the rest is history.
So, Shug, when Keith Guru went to New York, did the deal with K-Tel and Wild Pitch, and he was putting out singles. Were you aware of what he was doing?
Oh yeah, one single he had called "Not You" was one of the remnants of what I wrote, the most of it, and he put that on one of them things. You know what I mean? And because where I was at in the streets and in my life is in addictions and hustlings, I don't think dudes I was coming back. You know what I mean? So there were certain things that like he had put something on. I seen it. The funny story too was like Boston connects itself. We was on some real hip hop shit back then. So Boston connects itself because I actually connected with Ed. Kind of like, you know what I'm saying, because we were in Boston and he had did a song. I was just thinking about this because him speaking, he did a song and I was like, damn, if things don't work out with the label, I want to put that song out. And that's something I really like. I wasn't even like writing. I just freestyle a lot. And I just probably freestyle for half hour until they got the right parts.
Shug's good. He was good back in the days with the verses, man.
I think they forgot that I was even rhyming. That's how I was in the That's what I do. So then, and then, you the one that washed the other and both hands washed the face, because I was like, every time like that right time that Ill Kid, the first thing we was on, and me and J. Rue and Group Home. So when I knew he knew Ed previously, but like dudes doing, we used to see Ed in Croston. And I remember the trip journey he took. I literally I made a lot of connections. Sometimes dudes might slip a little bit, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I made a lot of connections where I was like, yo, Ed's trying to do this. And Guru was my man, like best friend in the world. And he was like, yo, I'm going to connect with him. I said, you need to connect with him and then like just see what's up. And I was hanging with Ed like all the time at that point in my career coming up. And so it's so dope. Like when they did connect, I was reliving that too, because I remember when Ed went out there and I was like, okay, they chilling and whatever came out, it comes out of it. And, but it was just dope. Listen to him say that because I went right back there. But forgive me for interjecting on that. But I just had to mention that. What else was you saying? I'm sorry. I got lost in that thought for a minute.
Yeah, I was talking about, so when and how did you reconnect with Guru in New York?
Amazing story. When me and Guru first got together, I mean, when I say co-founder, when they say co-founder, because a lot of times stuff that says Shug founding member of Gang Starr Foundation. No. Shug founded Gang Starr. When I met Keith, that's my man. As you know, when I met him, you know what I'm saying, I'm rhyming already. I'm rhyming. One of the biggest respects I have for him is that he was a grown-ass man that learned how to rhyme. You know, I was rhyming from 14, 15. He was a man in college and made it that prolific. So dope. Like, and he was a student. He was a student of Shug, but the group was, even our we got something coming up. I'm not going to mention it, but it's going to talk about the history of our logo. But even our logo, he was an artist. So I just sat there, man, telling them different ways that it should look and what it should represent till he got the right picture. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that's going to be our logo, which I still see today. See what I'm saying? So Gang Starr was always my movement, but I was in prison. And at this time I was immersed. People knew a little bit about my history in jail, but they were, I wasn't rapping, man. I wasn't all that shit. I got mad around jail. Nah, man, I wasn't rapping about shit. If anything, I was rapping up the pills to get them off to the other cells. That's about all I was rapping, because it was more important to me to be able to get back in society and contribute to society, because I felt like everybody in prison, just like I feel now, we're here because we're irresponsible. You know what I'm saying? I hit up on some irresponsible shit, so I had to do my time. Fortunately, it was 3 years, but while I was in there, he was ascending. You know, it was still early. You know, I remember being in the weight room and shit, you know, and working out and, you know, some other funny stuff. One of my mans was like, yo, come see your boy in here. Right? I was like, yo, because they all knew that was my man, you know. And then he making jokes like, yeah, come and see a little duck boy up in here. You know what I mean? I go in there, you know, and that Manifest video was out, right? And I was like, oh, and I'm looking at it like from a different way, because I'm like, oh, he really out there doing it. Okay, you know, and then, you know, the way it is, man, I'm like, yo, I slapped it out of all them dudes in that video. You know what I mean? That's just the mentality. I'm like, look at all these silly that's me. I'm like, look at all these silly niggas. Ed know me. So, he know I be getting the roast on. You know,
We heard punch, counter punch.
I'm looking at all these dudes in this video saying, man, yeah, I just walked through that video body slamming. I was just happy, too, though, in a way. I was never jealous, obviously. I was happy, though, because I was like, look at my man, though. He really, and I can't believe them dudes is following him. That's how much shit really was. But he wrote me a letter, and he said, yo, Shug, he said, yo, I'm doing it right now. I'm not really what I want to be right now, but I'm around Kane and them and stuff. And if I'm not eye to eye with them, I'm right. This was a letter he wrote me. He said, hopefully, man, there can be a space for you. But right now, I'm just doing what I got to do. And when we first got together, we did that Boy Scout shit on. We was like, if one of us make it and before the other one, because something happened, broke up, and we'll come back and get the other one. You know what I mean? So as we ascend, I came back. I got there right in time, like 91. You know what I'm saying? Where that was when the group was ascending to the top, like where they went. It was like, I don't know. It was almost like a God thing or whatever, intervention, because it was like, damn, I'm right here. Before it even got to, the level it did, where I'm signing autographs for just videos. So that's why we reconnected, because he never had to say, I'm going to connect with Shug. You know what I mean? He never had to do that, but he did. Obviously, Damo, this kid Damo that was with him.
Damo D-Ski?
Yeah, we was all living in a rooming house. I was living in a rooming house, but his uncle lived there when I first got out. And he was like, yo, I got Guru's number. You know what I'm saying? And here's a story. I take the number, but I'm still chilling. I'm still, his man uncle had the Casio keyboard and microphones and shit. So I'm kind of just jumping back in, messing around with him in the room, on the mics and stuff. I'm like, wow, you starting to feel it. But I know Guru's at the other end of this phone that I can call. You know what I mean? But Mike, Damo, and Smitty come over to the house, and they're telling me how I didn't start. Excuse me, how I didn't start Gang Starr, like how Gang Starr was started by Mike D and blah blah, and they added some young bucks, so they're like, oh no, and I said, now mind you, you know what I'm saying, like I'm thorough as they come, so the way to answer that was this: tell Mike D and whoever over there, you gonna see him. Tell Mike D and whoever that Shug came up. That's all I said. Tell him Shug is home. You saw him. That's it. You know, I know them dudes came back to the house the next day. Oh, damn, I'm sorry, man. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Because I know that everybody, like I said earlier, they thought I was never coming back. They probably thought I was going to jail for 20 years. But now the reality is you can say whatever you want to say. Now the truth is out here. You know what I mean? And I wasn't a dude. I was, like I said, I'm thorough as they. But it still was beautiful because dudes recognized that. I didn't have to say to them, yo, you better tell them that. Nah, just tell them I'm here. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you might hear a song or two that I've done and I've said, right? It always goes back to that. You don't got to say nothing else. You don't got to rah-rah nothing. You just let them know, and the rest of it will take care of itself. You know what I mean?
He said on FALA, I did my time and now I'm free.
I was free, brother. I'm still free. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry. You were born in 1986.
Wow.
What was your entry point to Gang Starr and Guru?
So I'm probably in like maybe like 8th grade. I'm at Boston Latin. How I got hip to Gang Starr was through freestyling, and we go downtown to they got a couple jewelry spots that used to sell like bootleg joints. You know what I mean? You walk all the way to the back of the jewelry joint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Downtown crossing, right next to the
like near High Voltage.
Yeah, like in between High Voltage, there's a spot by High Voltage, but then there's a spot by the corner mall.
Yeah,
like right there, right?
Everybody's a freestyle over there.
Exactly, but more specifically, like to get the beats, I would have to go into the store, and then like they would bring out all the bootleg beat tapes and cats. You know what I'm saying? Like 5 for $20 or whatever it was, and like so this is how I got hip to Premiere, because then it was like like the best of Gang Starr beats, all of that type of stuff. So like I got introduced with they're probably like the more cliche joints, but it's like Mass Appeal, Full Clip, Skills, like my steez, like very 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 classic like hip hop beats, but like I was rhyming to them before I even knew about like Guru specifically, like, and then I would like do my research and go actually hear the records, you know what I'm saying? And then it was just like, damn, like this is really dope, because I really have an affinity for like lyrical rappers kind of in general, but a lot of times like lyrical rappers that also came before maybe like my school of rappers that I grew up like listening to, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then I also love when the artists I grew up listening to also dial back. So for example, like Jadakiss, like I grew up in the Locks, DMX like era, you know what I mean? And it's like Right Where You Stand is him on a record with Guru, you know what I'm saying? So now I get a chance to like hear both, and then it's just like, yo, this is really dope, because I think sometimes, like, I'll just speak for myself, I had a tendency to just assume that, like, besides maybe, like, the Mount Rushmore of cats, you know what I mean, like your KRS, your Big Daddy Kane, your Rakim, like, besides, like, a handful, it's just like, yo, anybody rapping before this time was just more simple rhyming, but it's just like, nah, there was like, there was cats that can really like deliver. They got something to say, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, and his style is like, Guru's style to me is like very, very unique. Like you hear Guru on the record, it's Guru. He does specific things like intricacies, pauses that like are very Guru. You're just like, yo, that's him. But he can flex on different beat types You know what I mean? And then obviously, like, you know, Primo's a legendary producer, and the way I was flowing on all these different beats I was hearing was nothing like what I was hearing from Guru, but it was super dope when I did hear it from Guru. So I think that's what I appreciated the most.
Dope. All right, so Shug, question regarding Guru's role in infusing jazz in his music and his style. So I remember the Jazzmatazz album, and there was a single called "Never No Time to Play."
Right.
And we were familiar with you, but the rest of the world may not have known. And we remember you would be in the video. We're like, oh, look at Shug in the video. Right. And at the end, you start singing, I ain't got no time.
Right.
I ain't got no time. So what do you remember about the creation of the Jazzmatazz album and how it came about?
It's crazy. Tricia said earlier about Keith's Guru's godfather George. Before Gang Starr, before it became nationally known, it was just me and him. I used to go over to George's house, and he used to have ridiculously big, huge speakers, clear, crisp, and play the jazz music. He was a jazz aficionado, so he played jazz music, man, and he was a headmaster at one of the schools. That's how Guru kind of got those school teaching jobs. But we go over there and he sit us down, we'll chill. We got to smoke first before we get there, okay? Smoking up in there, so we go over there and smoke and listen to mad jazz like craziness. But the crazy thing about the jazz thing, people always want to look at Guru, and he really didn't even look at that. He didn't like it much either. They used to look at him as a jazz rapper. Like, hey, this dude is a jazz rapper. But yo, the thing that they miss is that Guru wasn't a jazz rapper, right? He just knew he knew how to get in where he fit. Premier was the jazz dude. Because Premier, everybody was doing those James Brown loops and stuff at the time. Premier slid off and was doing that jazz. A lot of his loops were jazz stuff. You know, even all the way to like Biggie kicking the door, right? That's like jazz. There's so many jazz records that he's using, right? And so people just assume because certain things have the jazz element that Guru's a jazz rapper, and then they did jazz thing, but Premier gave that track first, and then he makes the song, right? Because it sounds a little jazzy. So that's a misconception that people have, and Guru fed it. He fit it right. Like I said, he knew how to play his part, like who he had to be. You know, he knew how to dress like that if he wanted to. He was always like that. So, and Jazzmatazz itself, the name was created by J. Rue. J. Rue came up with the name Jazzmatazz. Guru gave him $100. We probably went and got a box of Phillies or something to smoke. How simple that was. Funny shit, but that was how it came up. Now, Patrick Moxie was our manager. He wanted to give the situation to Premier. He came to Premier with the situation first. You know, and he was like, "Yo, this is Jazzmatazz. A jazz project they want to do. It wasn't Jazzmatazz at the time, but this is the money they're trying to get. Whatever." And then Premier was like, "Nah, man, let Guru do that because you know he's always like trying to do like his own thing too." Outside of that, whatever, so like bring it to him. So then it came to him. That's why no one else had anything to do with it. Except if you look at all the videos and all that stuff, it was just me and him. Yeah. You didn't see the rest of the crew or nothing. Because the crew was him and I, and everyone else was them greats. Donald Burke, rest in peace, Bernard Purdy, who was the drummer for Al Green, James Brown, and the likes, Aretha Franklin. Who else was Reuben Wilson? He was a Hammond organ. The great Lonnie Liston Smith, Boy Ayers. These dudes was like our crew. We was like me and him was the young dudes. always been known as the older dudes because we like he had mentioned earlier. You mentioned earlier with Tricia and Justin older. One of the things about the vehicle too was me and Guru were the same age. So we used to be like, yo, we can do this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, so what? It was like, so what to whatever, you know what I mean? So when that came together, and man, it was groundbreaking. So we had crazy money. That's Edo know that's when like the record companies was giving you tour support, and like I'm talking like those. So it's just me and him, and then we paying the players that are on tour with us, but we got all this. It's like ridiculous, right? He did all the tracks. Spike Lee did the that lounging video and a few other things. This is the first video. We're staying in 5-star craziness all over the entire world. So it was an experience. Everything was sold out. Places in Sheffield, England, with over 100,000 people. This was just for Jazzmatazz. So it was such a great experience. I was glad to be a part of it, but also, I know Guru loved the fact, because of a lot of other things, loved the fact that, okay, I'm rolling with the spotlight right now. Shug's my man, he's strong, whatever, so not much could change. And I would jump in on jazz shows, and I'd be singing. When he used to change his clothes, I'll sing with the band. Bird had a hit from back in the day called Rock We Walk. I do that. Roy Ayers had Everyone Loves the Sunshine. I do that. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff we do in the interlude. And then when the show was over, I'm getting up there doing FALA. You know what I mean? So, real quick, we had a Jazzmatazz performance in Seattle. Now, because it was Jazzmatazz, like I said, it was Trust Me with India Davenport was back on the radio. So we're at this R&B. We had this R&B thing, like radio thing, like a Kiss 106 type thing or whatever, 108. And it's big. And now everybody's there. Silk, I Want to Freak You, Baby. And, all them groups is there, plus us, right? And I'm a loud dude too. I'm a little more calm these days, but I'm a loud dude. I'm talking about, I'm going around, can't believe how short these R&B groups are. Telling them, y'all are short as hell. You know what I'm saying? And I already know I don't told them straight like that. So we walking around, and then Tupac is there too. Tupac is my man. So Tupac is he loved FALA. He loved that, so he was coming on us, and the girl had left the show, so I had to sing a male version of Trust Me for the song. And after we did that with thousands of people there, that's like one of those Kiss 108, whatever that is, big thing. So we rocked, and then Tupac's coming next, but he's standing there, and this is right after the Juice thing. His thing was really going crazy. He's jumping up and down on the sideline because I started doing FALA. Right before it was even over, he came out. Like, he's just on stage hopping up and down with me while I'm doing that. You know what I mean? So it's just craziness, man. There was a lot of craziness with that Jazzmatazz. It was beautiful. All that stuff to the end at the end, whatever, and he got with solo and all that stuff, that's not the legacy at all, man. Getting the first 4 hours, it was great,
So, Bakari, being a young boy, but also the son of a jazz musician, how did Jazzmatazz affect you and your music or your outlook on music?
I think it helped me understand the blends, or honestly, just like how amazing like hip hop is in general. It's so inclusive of. It's literally built off the back of other, forms of music. So like like Big Shug was just saying about Gang Starr, like essentially a ton of these primo beats like are jazz samples. Like it's it's literally just built off of that. So like I grew up, my pops was just playing jazz around the crib. Like he was a percussionist by trade, and at this point, he always keeping himself busy. So he done taught himself trumpet and saxophone, etc., etc. But he taught me how to play keys when I was younger. So it's just like a lot of what I'm hearing sounds very familiar to me, and I just feel like I've always been drawn more to, soulful samples or like, just jazz-based samples anyway. So I think that's why I took more of a liking to, Primo as a producer, and then hearing Guru like rapping over like that style. I think it just like, cause like then Jazzmatazz itself is like just just even more jazzy. You know what I'm saying? Like specifically that. So I think it's like, it just kind of reminds you like, all right, cool, this is poetry. You can do this over whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and if you got like producers that fit with you, like you can, you know, blend the best of both worlds. And so I think that's just like, that's a lot of like how I started. You know what I mean? Like even like a lot of my earlier stuff, very, very, very jazz sample influence. You know what I mean? So again, like just building off of the back of those types of beats and songs that I grew up listening to from them, and then just kind of like making it my own was what I learned.
All right, so Ed, a lot of people know Guru the MC. They know him as a member of Gang Starr. They don't know about Guru the producer. They don't know about Guru the man who helped people with their careers. Could you talk about that aspect of Guru, please?
Well, he was definitely a very helping individual. He had a lot of people around him. Shug could tell you, and he helped everybody that was around him. So, and as far as that, he did a lot of the production on that Ill Kid compilation. A lot of dope beats too, man. You know what I'm saying? He had beats. He had been making way back in the 80s. You know, like I said, he produced my demo. I wish I could find that. That would be a classic gem out there. But yeah, so you know, I just think he was open arms, man. There was never, you know, no big headed celebrity type stuff with him. Every time, you know, we interacted, anytime it was always love. I mean, because we went so far back. And we made it. You know what I'm saying? We was all like the same place around the same time trying to make it. So you know, for me, I think Shug could probably speak to more about the people we helped, because for me, we were kind of on the same level in the industry doing our thing, and we was both out there around. So I'm basically thinking about helping my crew. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, being around him, you know, I see how generous he was, and you know what he did for a lot of people that was in his cipher.
Right. Like, he produced tracks for Bahamadia, you know.
If I could, not to cut you, but like saying though, right? A lot of things people don't know. Like, you know, FALA was produced by Guru. Mm-hmm. What happened was Guru had got a sample from France, and he put it together, and we went and recorded that. Then he brought it to Preem, and Preem just, you know, the figure, you know, he put all that on it and tightened it up. But that was a production of his. Another production was Code in the Streets. Yeah. You know, he had that too for this commercial. He did it for the news thing in New York. You know what I'm saying? And then premiered, you know, they brought that, tightened that up. So yeah, man, Ed's right, man. Like there was mad, you know, production this dude was doing. You know, and he didn't put it out there because if anybody knew him, he was too damn hyper. So if he was in that lane trying to produce, he was only going to be in that lane for a hot minute. Then he was going to be off doing something else. So that's how that happened. If he really stuck to it, he probably would have been like doing, because he did a lot of good joints. He was boys. So on Ill Kid, if you go back and hear some joints he did, and something in the past on Jazzmatazz, he did that too. And I'm singing on there as well. You know what I mean? It's just like he could do some stuff, man. He was a super intelligent dude, and he could adapt to all of this stuff. You know? Crazy.
Yeah. So, anybody watching this, I implore you, go to Discogs, go to Guru, go to production. Your jaw will drop. Your jaw will hit the floor. And the crazy thing is, everything isn't even credited. Because I've talked to people who were in the studio with him, worked with them, and like, nah, that was Goo. Goo did that. So your minds will be blown.
Listen to the beat on the mic where we belong. Said you got to check it out. We got cloud, super down, super chill. That's what we're about. We're called Gang Starr. We're rocking that Radio 1. And we're funky the most. And we just begun.
Bakari, sir, what do you have coming up as far as projects or things in the works?
So I got a handful of projects I'm looking to release sooner than later. I'm working on a project with my brother Mark Marin. That should be pretty dope. Much love to him. I got a project that's been in the cutway, and I still need Ed on it. I gotta holler at you, Ed, my good brother, with this Austrian producer, my boy Jules. And then lastly, but very important to the community, hoop hop, man. Hoop hop. We trying to get a hoop hop year 7 safely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Dope. I miss hoop hop, man. I miss balling. Period. So Ed, what do you have coming up? I know you do, sir. What's going on?
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. Right now, the 28th of May, I got the me and Insight. It's called Edo G and Insight Innovates. We got that. We just dropped a video yesterday, new video. Now I got the Edo G and the Bulldogs album coming. This year is our 30th year anniversary. So that album's almost done. We're gonna have some stuff out by late summer, midsummer. And then my solo album and a bunch of collaborative projects with producers from Europe. Shout out to my man Flip. I got a collaborative album with him from Austria. My man DJ Yoda in Baloo in the UK. Yeah. And, a bunch of other stuff coming, man. So look out, y'all.
Dope. And Big Shug, what do we have to look forward from you in the future?
A lot of things, man. As far as we get back on this road, we have a legacy tour, which is consists of being premiered with various people from our foundation, and just going over the new album, because we should have been doing that, but that's going to come back. It looks like in another 3-4 months we start doing some things. So that's one thing. Another thing is my solo album, produced solely by DJ Ed, called Undefeated. So I'm like 5 songs on there. So I got a few more to go, some things. Probably about another 11 tracks or so. Like Ed, as we travel the world like that, I have some emcees collabs as well. One of them is a soul project where I'm just singing on. It's a living room, but it's updated stuff too with some people out of Europe. So I got that coming. I got a couple of more movies. Like if you didn't know, I'm acting in quite some movies, meaning that you speak, and there's a couple more that some big deals that y'all be seeing me in soon too. And then we trying to get ours off the ground too, man. This Gang Starr story, we trying to put that out there, which we will. We're just putting things together. So there's so much there. And continue last and most. Also to try to be that spirit, that strength, that leadership, that I could be. Still as a father too. You know what I'm saying? Because like my kids is basically grown now, but still you still represent a whole bunch of them. So that's part of all these things I do musically. A lot of it's inspired off of them as well. You know what I mean? So it's quite a few things, man. But as long as we can keep on breathing life and we can still speak, then we'll still be doing music. As you know, we just dropped the new video, the remix. Yes. Glowing Mike, featuring me, but it was beautiful, to just be on there rapping with my man. Again, the video is my youngest son, Tremaine, is in there, and then Guru's son is in there, representing him, and so that's beautiful, but there's some more to come with that as well, so stay tuned, man. Just like the other brothers, Bakari and Ed, we just trying to make it a situation out here. We trying to be here, man.
Dope. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
We out here for real.
get busy as we get over. When I'm on like tough like a Chevy Nova. Rock get you up, rock get you down. And I'm now in your town. And you said you wanted to see somebody who rock with Vicious G.
So, to close this up, I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask you one word that best describes Guru's legacy in music and creatively. So I'll start with you, Bakari. One word best describes Guru's legacy and creativity going forward.
Impeccable.
Okay, that's dope. Hey, one word best describes him.
Everlasting.
Everlasting. Dope. Shug, bring us home.
Continues. There's more Gang Starr music to come.
Yes.
That you guys not even, we still haven't scratched the surface of the things that are cooking right now. So for me, it continues. The legacy continues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for helping to celebrate the legacy, life, and creative history of one Keith Elam, a.k.a. Gifted Unlimited Rhymes Universal.
Of us brothers better learn to be gents, and I am a shining example. And this crush rap is just one symbol of one MC getting live on the spot. No, yes, it's me, and you, it's not you. Break again, and we're rocking.
So thank you all for joining us. The ARTDACITY series will be released over the next couple of months on our website and the YouTube channel. If you would like to be the first to learn about some of the upcoming BAMSFest events, please visit www.bamsfest.org and sign up for our monthly newsletter. We encourage you all to follow and like us on all social media platforms. On Twitter, it's at BAMSFest, capital BAMS Fest. Until next time, have a great night.
Fresh Avenue. There is a place, just a place to be, where party people chill in harmony. No prejudice, no crime or guns, just a hip hop and a lot of fun. I'm talking about the place Fresh Avenue, and I'm emcee TDE from the Gang Starr crew. Yo, I said it 212. Yo, 212, and now I'm here for you. Gonna take you on a trip to Fresh Avenue. Fresh Avenue. And so I give an invitation for your participation, some type of stimulation for your body gyration. Can you feel the beat for each sensation? Fresh Avenue. And I'm the best at oration. Don't feel an accusation. Don't like an altercation, but I do like conversation. I'm about the innovation as a rap demonstration. Come on, party people, as we rock shut the nation. Fresh Avenue. Fresh Avenue. Fresh Avenue, it is the place that you chill. It's where the honeys are deaf and MCs go ill. B-boys rock on from now until no crime, no hunger, poverty, or pollution. Just people committed to a musical solution. Fresh Avenue. Right. It's Fresh Avenue. It's the place to be for me and you. I bring your spirits up when you're sad or blue. Or if your life is kind of through. And listen to the grab one time or two. Cause we need peace and love, and you know it's true. Fresh Avenue. Fresh Avenue. Cause there is a place to be, where party people chill in harmony. No prejudice, no crime or guns. Much hip hop and a lot of fun.